Hello YouTube, Dave here again, and in today's video I'm going to actually be doing something a little bit new. I'm going to start doing some board game reviews. I've got quite a few board games in my collection, and I really for a while wanted to get around to actually talking about some of them. Now the first two videos are actually going to be something that I really want to talk about as sort of a separate thing, but I may as well bring them both together into one or just a couple of different videos. And that's the idea of introducing children to board games. And when I say that, I don't mean like most of the children's board games that you think of, like Children's Monopoly or Trouble or Sorry, or most of like the children's games that are out these days, or even when I was growing up, revolved heavily around rolling a dice and just moving a piece around a board, and it really wasn't much more complex than that. You might have like some cards that either move you ahead or back a few spaces, but there really wasn't a lot to these games. And I feel that, even, games that are made for children can have a level of strategy and complexity to it. And it's something that I think can actually benefit children. I know that, especially these days, things like attention deficit disorders and just general inabilities for people to maintain focus on things for more than a few minutes is something that I think is getting to be a bigger and bigger issue as, the generations keep going. Like when I was growing up, it's, maybe that it just wasn't diagnosed a lot or wasn't really fully understood, but having attention issues just never really seemed to be the problem that it is these days. So with that in mind, and as a parent, I want to not only introduce my children to gaming, but I want them to also have to think about the games that they play, and that's something that can be done. So I've got two different examples, which will be the subject of two different videos. The first one I want to talk about is probably the more simplistic of the two, but it still involves a little bit of strategy, and that is my first Carcassonne. So the Carcassonne game is sort of like a tile-laying game, and the adult version of it has quite a bit of complexity to it. This one is much more streamlined and simplified, but it's something that I think is still a lot of fun, and again, it's something that kind of gets your child thinking about what they're doing. So this game is designed for ages, where do we have it here? So it's for ages 4 and up. It's for 2 to 4 players, and it takes about 20 minutes to play, and that's, it can take less than that as well. But just looking at the back here, it just says, my first Carcassonne. Discover the great city of Carcassonne one tile at a time. The streets of Carcassonne are filled with kids who are trying to catch the animals set loose for the festival. The city has never been so alive. This version of the modern classic Carcassonne has been adapted to allow players of all ages to play together. No need to count points. Each turn you place a tile to build Carcassonne. When you close a street with one or more kids of your color, you get to put your pawns on the board. Be the first to place all your pawns to win the game. So it comes with 32 pawns in 4 colors and the large tiles here. So let's actually just open this up. And of course we just have the rule book here, which is pretty simple. Not much to it, and I'll do a little bit of a demonstration here. Fortunately, these got mixed up a little bit. Alright, so these are our tiles here. This is just the back views, and I'll just show sort of what a few of them look like. So you got the tiles there, you see it's like the different roads and the different children that are on it. So they come in red, green, yellow, and blue, which also happens to be the color of the pawns. So the way that this game is played is you just essentially kind of shuffle the tiles up and put them into different piles. You then have a starting tile that you play, and you just go around and basically each person takes turns laying a tile down. And so what you would do is just the player draws the tile, looks at what's on there. So let's just say that we are the green player. So we see that this tile has a child in green on it. So you have to place it so that the roads line up with one another. So let's just say we put that one there. The next player goes, and they find, their tile. Let's just say that they are the blue player. So One of the things that you can do is you could start off like on your own, for example, if you wanted to do something like that, or you can actually combo off of, if that's how you want to call it, off of other people's paths that they've started. So for example, whenever a road's completed, any of the children that are on that road, you score a point. So let's just do it this way, so that if this road's closed off, both the blue player and the green player get to place one of their pieces. So we'll just go to the next one here, and we find that's another green. So it gets placed like that, and let's just try to find one that will actually close it off here. Alright, so let's just say we get back to the green player, or even the blue player if they want to basically cut this off before it gets too big. So they get a piece that looks like this. So there's an open road here, but there's also two roads that come to a close at a building. So let's just say we do this. So now you've got one road that goes from one building directly to another. So this road cannot continue. Once that occurs, you look at the children that are on there, and for each child that's on there, you place one of your wooden pawns of the corresponding color on them. And the game essentially continues until you've placed all of your pawns. The first person, or once that happens, once a player has placed all of their pawns, then the game is over. Now the interesting thing is this can actually result in a tie, and there are eight pawns of each color. Because if you close off a road and two people place their last pawn at the same time, then it's technically a tie. It doesn't happen very often. In fact, of all the games that I've played, I've only ever seen it actually happen once. But it's something that, again, is kind of a fun little game, and it's something that's easy to play. And for younger children, it's something that's really easy to pick up. The great thing about this, though, is that it's not just as simple as just laying down the tiles, because the children, when playing this, actually have to think about what their color is, what colors are on the tiles, and how they can go about placing all of their people down. And I've seen it even with our daughter playing through it. At first it took her a little bit to kind of wrap her head around it, sort of thing, but once she kind of got into the strategy of it, she actually became really good at playing it, and it was nice to see that progression, to actually get her thinking critically of ways to make it so that she can play as many of her wooden pieces or her pawns as possible. And I think that this is something that is a really great introductory board game for children. So it's not something that's going to be completely mindless where you're just rolling a dice and moving a piece around the board. It's a game that, while it's simple, it's incredibly fun, but it's also something that gets you thinking, and giving children the ability to think about like strategies and think critically and understand what's going on around them, I think is something that is useful and will come in handy later on in life. So like I said, I think this is one of the best gateway board games that you can use to introduce children to the idea of playing board games, the idea of strategies, and thinking things through. So I absolutely love this game. If you have some small children and you want to introduce them to board games, but you don't want to run the simplistic ones, or you're afraid that some of the other ones are like more just too complex for them to start with, this is a great introductory game. We've played it several times, including several adults at the table at the same time, and we've always had fun playing it. So this is a game that I highly recommend. So once again, that is my first Carcassonne. And if any of you have actually played this game, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below, and let me know what some of your experiences were. I typically usually end up coming in last because everybody seems to gang up on me, but it's still a lot of fun. So anyway, like I said, a great game for young children to introduce them to the wonderful world of gaming. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.